From the kitchen of the cabin, it's the 5 Games for Doomsday review. Auf der Walz. We are a conservative animal. There is no doubt the need to be part of the herd instills an innate conservatism into us. Now, I can't believe I have to do this, but the internet is the internet, so I want to make it clear that I'm not using the C word in its nakedly political dimension here. I'm not talking about the restriction of reproductive rights or small government or local parsnips for local people. Words have a variety of meanings that are wedded to their context. It's worth remembering this. I advise you in the strongest possible terms not to believe in magic. The only destination on that path is Dogma Town, and it's an insufferable place to spend your time, mainly because everyone that lives there is a twat. A certain configuration of syllables and stresses and tones and clicks and whistles don't have an intrinsic anything, and certainly not an intrinsic intention or meaning. Words are given their beneficence or poison by context. It is context that delivers meaning. Without context, there is just the random assortment of sound. In this context, I'm talking about the uncontrollable drive to belong, to follow, to conform. Sure, we need a sprinkling of visionaries, but mostly we derive our strength as a species in our unerring skill to coalesce around abstract ideas and to conform, mostly, to their dictates. Evolution has selected us for this. We have to conform. It's in our DNA. Games do it. It makes sense. In an art form where setting can just be a platform for the mechanics to ride upon, it makes sense that a setting or theme be not too invasive. We see the same tropes over and over again. Time periods that don't arouse a connotation or feeling in most of us. Fantasy worlds that take us by the hand and lead us out of the workaday. They let us be heroes, draw us out of the mediocre and into the epic. And they are thin and generic enough that we can exert some sort of ownership, we can insert ourselves. We sometimes call for originality and then balk when it's presented to us. See Holding On, for instance. Sometimes, though, a unique theme will come along that is so vivid, so new, an area of humanity that is cracked open and presented to our quotidian gaze. We become excited by this theme and we ache with the hope that it will be great. And sometimes the game is. And sometimes it fails. Auf der Walz is a game I was rooting for with all my heart, but, although the idea is wonderful, the execution falls down. When I moved to Austria, I would occasionally see these guys. They wore big floppy hats, flares that hugged their thighs and shunned their ankles. They wore waistcoats with shiny silver buttons and carried a Gandalf staff. I asked about these guys and I had the waltz explained to me. This is the origin of the term journeyman. After serving an apprenticeship, tradespeople will embark on 3 years and 1 day of journeying, picking up work where they can and honing their skills before they can return home and ply their trades. While it would be grossly overselling it to describe this practice as prevalent in the German-speaking world, I still see these guys traipsing around Berlin, and it always brings a smile to my face to see something so charmingly anachronistic. Jimmy Mars was one of these people, and he decided to parlay his experience into a board game. In Auf der Walz, players assume the roles of journeymen and stroll through the countryside. They work, visit inns and gossip, sleep in hostels and paint and sing. Points are accrued by completing these tasks, and the player who's had the most compelling waltz wins. The theme of this game is totally unique. It is obviously a game that seeks to explain the experience of these journeymen and to let us for a brief time into their world. And while the theme is original, conformity kicks in with the game mechanically and it leaves it feeling tired and flabby. There are many actions in this game, but for all the fancy argot, they amount to one of 3 things: move, lay a tile, or get stuff. As the board expands across the table, the character of the game never changes. There are no mountains in this landscape, no climbs or descents. There are no dynamics. The game starts, stuff is done, and the game ends, and no real decisions have been made. Also, there feels like there is no import to the choices you make. I do this because it's close. I reveal tiles because doing what I've been doing for the last 15 minutes is dull. Rewards don't feel earned. You just move to a spot and do what's there. There's no tension in the game. There are workshops and hostels and inns, and they all feel exactly the same. I wanted this game to feel like a journey. I wanted this game to feel that I was embarking on something pivotal. But it is a game that fundamentally feels old and unhewn. Theming games emerges when you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I never felt that in Auf der Walz. I felt like I was playing a board game. And for something whose primary attraction is the uniqueness of its theme, I didn't want to feel that. Thank you for listening. And you can support the show by going to patreon.com/5G4D.